Top 10 Richest Family in the World, written and published by Rich Audiobooks. Behind the world's greatest fortunes are families who've turned wealth into legacy. Top 10 Richest Families in the World uncovers the dynasties that quietly control industries, shape economies, and pass down power across generations. This isn't just about billions, it's about influence, tradition, and the secrets of sustained generational wealth. Want to know how money stays in the family? This is where the story begins. Lesson 1. They think in generations, not years. The fundamental difference between the ultra-wealthy and the average investor lies not in their investment strategies or business acumen, but in their perception of time. While most people plan their finances around quarterly results or annual returns, the world's wealthiest families measure success across centuries. This extended time horizon transforms every decision from asset allocation to business development, creating a framework that builds lasting wealth. The Rothschild family exemplifies this generational thinking. In the late 1700s, Meyer Amschel Rothschild sent his 5 sons to different European financial centers, not just to expand his banking business, but to create a dynasty that would span centuries. This strategic decision wasn't about immediate profits. It was about establishing a financial empire that would benefit his great-grandchildren. Today, more than 250 years later, the Rothschild name remains synonymous with banking excellence and multi-generational wealth. This long-term perspective manifests in how these families approach investments. They don't chase quarterly earnings or react to market volatility. Instead, they focus on opportunities that might take decades to mature fully. When the Rockefeller family invested in Asian markets in the 1970s, they weren't looking for quick returns. They recognized that economic power would shift eastward over generations, positioning their wealth to benefit from this long-term trend. The generational mindset also influences how these families structure their organizations. They create robust governance systems, establishing family councils and investment committees that outlive any individual member. These structures ensure consistent decision-making across generations, preventing emotional reactions to market changes or personal circumstances from derailing long-term wealth accumulation. Education plays a crucial role in this approach. Wealthy families invest considerable resources in preparing future generations to manage and grow the family fortune. Children aren't just taught about money management. They're immersed in a culture of wealth preservation and growth from an early age. They learn to see themselves not as mere beneficiaries, but as temporary stewards responsible for passing on enhanced wealth to future generations. This perspective dramatically affects risk management. While most investors might consider a 5-year investment horizon long-term, generational wealth families often look at 50 or 100-year cycles. This extended time frame allows them to weather economic storms that would devastate shorter-term investors. During the 2008 financial crisis, many of these families not only preserved their wealth, but expanded it by acquiring distressed assets they knew would appreciate over decades. The generational mindset extends beyond financial decisions into relationship building. These families cultivate connections with other wealthy dynasties, creating networks that span generations. They forge alliances through business partnerships, marriages, and social connections that their children and grandchildren can leverage. These relationships often prove more valuable than any single investment or business venture. Adopting this generational thinking requires a fundamental shift in how you view wealth creation and preservation. It means making decisions today that might not pay off for decades. It involves sacrificing short-term gains for long-term stability and growth. When evaluating opportunities, ask yourself not, how will this benefit me, but how will this benefit my great-grandchildren? The practical implementation of generational thinking starts with creating a family mission statement that outlines your values and long-term objectives. Document your knowledge, experiences, and lessons learned for future generations. Begin building relationships and networks with the explicit intention of benefiting your descendants. Most importantly, train yourself to evaluate decisions through the lens of decades rather than years. The world's wealthiest families understand that true wealth isn't measured in quarterly returns or annual profits. It's measured in generations of sustained prosperity and influence. By adopting their long-term perspective, you begin to see opportunities and threats differently, making decisions that stand the test of time rather than chasing immediate gratification. Lesson 2. They control industries, not just businesses. The world's wealthiest families understand a fundamental truth that escapes many entrepreneurs. Controlling an industry yields far greater returns than merely owning successful companies. This strategic approach has enabled dynasties like the Koch family to build empires that span multiple sectors and create lasting economic moats around their wealth. Consider how the Tata family of India transformed from a trading company into a conglomerate that shapes entire industries, from automotive and steel to technology and telecommunications. Their approach wasn't to simply establish profitable businesses, but to identify sectors crucial to India's development and position themselves as pivotal players in these industries. This level of influence allows them to shape regulations, set industry standards, and create barriers to entry that protect their interests across generations. The Saudi royal family exemplifies this principle through their control of not just oil companies, but the entire petroleum industry infrastructure in their region. Their influence extends beyond extraction to shipping, refineries, and distribution networks, effectively giving them leverage over the global energy sector. This comprehensive approach to industry control ensures their wealth remains protected, regardless of individual business performance. The Koch family's journey from oil refining to becoming industrial titans showcases how controlling critical infrastructure and supply chains creates unassailable market positions. Their ownership of pipelines, terminals, and processing facilities means that competitors must either work with them or face significant obstacles in market entry. Through strategic acquisitions and vertical integration, they've created a system where their influence extends far beyond individual company performance. Wealthy families also understand the importance of controlling adjacent industries that support their core businesses. The Rothschild dynasty, for instance, didn't just focus on banking. They created systems for international finance, influenced monetary policy, and established networks that made them indispensable to global commerce. This approach meant that even as individual banks or investments might face challenges, their control over the financial system's infrastructure ensured their continued prosperity. Modern dynasties apply this principle by identifying emerging industries and moving to control their fundamental infrastructure. The Ambani family's Reliance Industries didn't just enter telecommunications. They built India's largest 4G network and digital ecosystem, effectively controlling how millions of people access the internet and conduct digital transactions. This level of industry control creates value that transcends individual product offerings or services. For aspiring wealth builders, this principle suggests focusing on industries rather than individual business opportunities. Instead of starting a technology company, consider how you might control critical infrastructure in the tech sector. Rather than opening a retail store, explore ways to influence supply chains or distribution networks that multiple retailers depend upon. The strategy begins with identifying industries poised for long-term growth and understanding their foundational elements. Look for opportunities to control crucial patents, distribution networks, or essential resources that industry participants need. Build relationships with regulators, industry associations, and key stakeholders who influence sector dynamics. Create systems and infrastructure that other businesses must rely upon to operate effectively. This approach requires patience, substantial capital, and strategic thinking that extends beyond quarterly results. Wealthy families often spend decades positioning themselves within industries, gradually acquiring assets and building influence before their control becomes apparent. They understand that true wealth comes not from owning successful businesses, but from shaping the environments in which all businesses operate. The world's wealthiest families demonstrate that industry control creates a form of wealth that's more resilient than individual business success. By focusing on fundamental infrastructure, supply chains, and critical resources, they build economic moats that protect their wealth across generations and market cycles. Lesson 3. They prioritize privacy and protection. The world's wealthiest families understand a fundamental truth that most overlook. Privacy isn't just about personal preference, it's a crucial wealth preservation strategy. The Mars family, controlling one of the world's largest confectionery empires, exemplifies this principle perfectly. Despite their massive wealth exceeding $100 billion, 0 cents, most people wouldn't recognize a Mars family member walking down the street. This invisibility is by careful design. These families recognize that visibility creates vulnerability. When the world knows too much about your assets, business operations, or family dynamics, it opens doors to various threats, from sophisticated criminal schemes to corporate espionage, from unwanted publicity to security risks for family members. The Cargill Macmillan family, America's largest private company owners, maintain such a low profile that their business operations, though massive in scale, rarely make headlines unless they choose to make an announcement. Privacy protection extends beyond personal discretion. These families employ sophisticated legal structures, carefully crafted communication protocols, and multiple layers of security measures. They often use private holding companies, anonymous LLCs, and complex trust structures to shield their assets from public view. Their real estate purchases are typically made through shell companies, their travel arrangements are handled by trusted intermediaries, and their business dealings are conducted through layers of professional representatives. The digital age has made privacy protection both more challenging and more critical. Wealthy families invest heavily in cybersecurity, employing teams of experts to protect their digital footprint. They understand that one data breach could expose sensitive information about their assets, business strategies, or family members. The Berninkme family, owners of C&A, maintain strict social media policies for family members and requires sophisticated encryption for all family business communications. These families also recognize that privacy extends to their inner circle. They carefully select and thoroughly vet their employees, advisors, and service providers. Non-disclosure agreements are standard, but more importantly, they build long-term relationships based on trust and mutual respect. Many wealthy families work with the same advisors for decades, creating a stable, reliable network of professionals who understand the importance of discretion. The protection aspect goes hand in hand with privacy. Physical security measures are comprehensive but subtle. Residential properties are equipped with state-of-the-art security systems, but they're designed to blend seamlessly with the architecture. Security personnel are highly trained, with often dress and behave like ordinary staff members. The goal is to maintain protection without drawing attention to it. What's particularly instructive about these families' approach to privacy and protection is how they balance it with their business interests. They understand when public visibility serves a purpose and when it doesn't. For instance, their brands might be highly visible while their ownership and operations remain discreet. This strategic approach to disclosure allows them to build strong market presence while maintaining personal and operational security. For those building wealth, the lesson isn't to become completely invisible, but to be strategic about visibility. Start by auditing your digital footprint and understanding what information about you and your assets is publicly available. Consider using legal structures like trusts and LLCs to hold assets, even at modest wealth levels. Develop relationships with professionals who understand and respect the importance of confidentiality. Create clear policies about what information family members should and shouldn't share publicly. The wealthiest families have learned that privacy isn't paranoia, it's prudent wealth management. They've seen how public exposure can lead to everything from security threats to business complications, from family conflicts to unwanted scrutiny. Their approach to privacy and protection isn't just about avoiding negative outcomes, it's about creating the space and security needed for wealth to grow and transfer effectively across generations. Lesson 4. They reinvest family wealth smartly. The world's wealthiest families understand a fundamental principle that separates them from typical investors. Strategic reinvestment is the cornerstone of perpetual wealth creation. Unlike conventional investors who might be satisfied with standard market returns, these families approach reinvestment with sophisticated strategies that continuously compound their wealth across multiple sectors and asset classes. The Walton family serves as a prime example of this principle in action. While Walmart remains their cornerstone asset, they've systematically reinvested their dividends and profits into diverse portfolios spanning renewable energy, art collections, and technology startups. This approach has helped them maintain their position as one of the wealthiest families globally, even as retail landscapes evolve. Their investment arm, Walton Enterprises, doesn't just chase returns, it creates entirely new revenue streams that function independently of their primary business. These ultra-wealthy families typically follow a three-tiered reinvestment approach. The first tier focuses on strengthening and expanding their core business empire. The second tier involves strategic diversification into adjacent industries where they can leverage their existing knowledge and networks. The third tier explores emerging opportunities in completely new sectors, often through venture capital or private equity investment. This structured approach ensures both stability and growth potential while managing risk across different market cycles. Another crucial aspect of smart reinvestment is the timing and patience these families exhibit. They don't feel pressured to deploy capital immediately. Instead, they wait for optimal opportunities that align with their long-term vision. The Johnson family, owners of Fidelity Investments, demonstrates this perfectly. They consistently reinvested financial technology infrastructure years before mainstream adoption, securing their position at the forefront of industry innovation. These families also understand the power of reinvesting in human capital and intellectual property. They allocate significant resources to research and development, educational initiatives, and talent acquisition. The Saudi Aramco family's investments in petroleum engineering education and research facilities have helped maintain their technological edge in the energy sector for decades. A lesser-known but equally important aspect of their reinvestment strategy involves creating internal family investment offices. These dedicated teams of professionals work exclusively on identifying and analyzing investment opportunities, managing risk, and maintaining relationships with key financial partners. This institutional approach to wealth management ensures that reinvestment decisions are made with professional rigor rather than emotional impulse. The concept of patient capital is central to their reinvestment philosophy. Unlike traditional investors who might demand quick returns, wealthy families are willing to lock up capital for extended periods in investments that promise substantial long-term value creation. This patience allows them to capture opportunities that others might overlook or be unable to access due to shorter investment horizons. These families also recognize that smart reinvestment includes allocating resources to maintain and grow their social and political capital. They invest in philanthropic initiatives, community development projects, and relationship-building activities that strengthen their position within their industries and society at large. This holistic approach to reinvestment ensures that their wealth creates both financial returns and social impact. For those looking to apply these principles, the key lies in developing a systematic reinvestment framework that aligns with your resources and goals. Start by clearly defining your core competences and gradually expand into adjacent opportunities. Maintain discipline in evaluation criteria, and don't be swayed by short-term market movements. The goal isn't just to preserve wealth, but to grow it sustainably across generations through strategic reinvestment decisions. Lesson 5. They teach money principles early. The world's wealthiest families understand that financial education begins in childhood, not in adulthood when critical money habits are already formed. The Rockefeller family stands as a prime example, where John D. Rockefeller taught his children about money management as soon as they could count. He implemented a structured allowance system that required his children to allocate their money into 3 categories: saving, giving, and spending. This early foundation laid the groundwork for generations of financial literacy within the family. Wealthy families recognize that money conversations shouldn't be taboo, but rather an open, ongoing dialogue. The Johnson family, heirs to the Fidelity Investments fortune, actively involves children in financial discussions from an early age. They create age-appropriate scenarios and games that teach fundamental concepts like compound interest, investment risk, and the value of delayed gratification. This hands-on approach helps children develop a natural understanding of wealth management long before they handle significant amounts of money. These families also emphasize the connection between work and wealth. Unlike the common misconception that wealthy heirs are simply handed everything, most affluent families require their children to earn their own money through summer jobs, internships, or entrepreneurial ventures. The Mars family, despite their enormous chocolate empire, insisted that their children work various positions within the company, starting from the bottom. This practical experience provides invaluable insights into wealth creation and business operations that no classroom education can match. Financial responsibility in wealthy families extends beyond basic money management to include philanthropy and social responsibility. The Lauder family of Estee Lauder Companies involves young family members in their charitable foundation's decision-making processes. This teaches them not only about grant-making and social impact, but also about the responsibilities that come with wealth and the importance of giving back to society. The education process in wealthy families is often formalized through family offices or dedicated learning programs. The Pritzker family, known for their Hyatt hotel empire, established a systematic approach to financial education that includes regular workshops, mentorship programs, and real-world investment exercises for younger family members. These structured learning environments allow heirs to make mistakes and learn from them while the stakes are still relatively low. Another crucial aspect of early financial education in wealthy families is understanding the difference between income and wealth. The Bloomberg family emphasizes teaching children that high income doesn't necessarily translate to wealth. It's what you do with that income that matters. They focus on instilling principles of asset accumulation, passive income generation, and the power of compound growth from an early age. The wealthy families also recognize the importance of teaching emotional intelligence alongside financial knowledge. The Getty family learned through experience that technical financial skills alone don't guarantee successful wealth stewardship. They now emphasize teaching young family members how to handle the psychological aspects of wealth, including dealing with peer pressure, maintaining motivation despite financial security, and developing a healthy relationship with money. The most successful wealthy families create customized learning paths for each child, acknowledging that different people have varying aptitudes and interests. Some might excel in direct business management, while others might be better suited for portfolio management or philanthropic work. This personalized approach ensures that each family member can contribute meaningfully to the family's wealth preservation and growth, while pursuing their own passions and strengths. Lesson 6. They own, not rent, everything. The wealthiest families in the world share a fundamental principle that sets them apart from the merely affluent. They maintain an ownership mindset in everything they do. This philosophy extends far beyond the simple concept of owning versus renting property. It encompasses a complete approach to wealth accumulation and preservation that has helped these families maintain their fortunes across generations. The Al Saud family of Saudi Arabia exemplifies this principle through their comprehensive ownership strategy. While their initial wealth came from oil resources, they quickly understood that true power lies in owning the entire value chain. They didn't just settle for oil field ownership, they acquired refineries, transportation networks, and even the technological infrastructure that supports the industry. This vertical integration approach ensures they capture value at every step of the process. This ownership mindset manifests in various ways across wealthy families. They own their primary residences, vacation properties, and commercial real estate outright. They maintain ownership of their means of transportation, from private jets to yacht fleets. More importantly, they own the companies that generate their wealth, rather than just holding shares in public corporations. This direct ownership gives them control over decision-making and allows them to implement long-term strategies without answering to external shareholders. The wealthy understand that ownership creates multiple revenue streams. When you own an asset, you benefit from both its appreciation and the income it generates. Take the Porsche Pie family, who not only own a significant portion of Volkswagen Group, but also the land and facilities where their vehicles are manufactured. This dual ownership approach means they profit from both the automotive business and the real estate appreciation of their industrial property. Intellectual property ownership represents another crucial aspect of this strategy. Wealthy families invest heavily in patents, trademarks, and other forms of intellectual property that generate passive income through licensing agreements. The Mars family, for instance, owns not just their manufacturing facilities, but also the proprietary recipes and processes that give their products a competitive edge in the market. These families also recognize the importance of owning their distribution channels. The Walton family's success with Walmart wasn't just about selling products, it was about owning the entire retail ecosystem, from the stores to the distribution centers to the transportation network. This level of ownership gives them unparalleled control over their business operations and eliminates dependency on third-party providers. One often overlooked aspect of the ownership mindset is the importance of owning your financial destiny. Wealthy families establish their own family offices, creating dedicated teams that manage their investments and operations. Rather than relying solely on external financial advisors or investment firms, they build internal capability and expertise that serves their specific needs and objectives. The practical application of this principle for aspiring wealth builders starts with identifying opportunities to convert rental or lease arrangements into ownership positions. This might mean purchasing a home instead of renting, buying equipment instead of leasing it, or acquiring small businesses rather than working for others. Each ownership position becomes a building block in creating lasting wealth. The ownership mindset also extends to education and skills development. Wealthy families invest in acquiring knowledge and capabilities that no one can take away from them. They own their expertise, their networks, and their reputation, intangible assets that often prove more valuable than physical possessions. For those looking to emulate the success of the world's wealthiest families, developing an ownership mindset requires a fundamental shift in thinking. Every financial decision should be evaluated through the lens of long-term ownership potential rather than short-term convenience. This approach may require more initial capital and commitment, but it creates the foundation for generating wealth that can span generations. Lesson 7. They hire the best minds, not just relatives. The world's wealthiest families understand a fundamental truth that many family businesses overlook. Blood relation doesn't guarantee business acumen. These dynasties have mastered the art of attracting, retaining, and leveraging exceptional talent from across the globe, creating powerhouse teams that extend far beyond the family tree. The Ambani family of India serves as a masterclass in this approach. Despite being one of Asia's most prominent family businesses, Reliant Industries has consistently prioritized merit over heredity. When expanding into telecommunications with Jio, Mukesh Ambani recruited top executives from global tech giants and telecom leaders, transforming a traditional petrochemical company into a digital powerhouse. This strategic talent acquisition helped Jio acquire over 400 million subscribers in record time. Wealthy families recognize that building a fortune requires different skills than maintaining and growing it. The Johnson family, overseeing Fidelity Investments, exemplifies this understanding perfectly. While Abigail Johnson leads the company as CEO, the family has surrounded itself with brilliant investment managers, technology experts, and market strategists. This combination of family leadership and external expertise has helped Fidelity maintain its position as a financial services leader for decades. These families approach talent acquisition as a strategic investment rather than an operational expense. They create environments that attract exceptional professionals by offering not just competitive compensation, but also the opportunity to work on significant, long-term projects with genuine impact. The Lauder family, behind Estée Lauder Companies, regularly brings in industry innovators from competing cosmetics giants, providing them with the resources and autonomy to drive meaningful change. Professional development within these family enterprises extends beyond traditional roles. The most successful dynasties create internal think tanks and advisory boards comprising diverse experts who challenge family assumptions and bring fresh perspectives. The Tata family of India, for instance, maintains a network of global advisors who help guide their strategic decisions across multiple industries. Smart, wealthy families also understand the importance of creating clear boundaries between family and business governance. They establish professional management structures where external executives can operate without unnecessary family interference while maintaining strategic oversight. This approach has allowed families like the Mars to scale their businesses globally while keeping their core values intact. Succession planning in these families isn't limited to identifying the next family leader. It includes developing a robust ecosystem of professional talent that can support and guide future generations. The Rothschild banking dynasty has thrived for centuries partly because they consistently attract top financial minds who mentor family members while maintaining operational excellence. The ability to identify and nurture talent extends to building relationships with experts across various fields: legal, financial, technological, and operational. These families create lasting partnerships with people and institutions that become integral to their wealth preservation and growth strategies. They understand that no single family member can possess all the necessary expertise to manage vast, complex wealth structures. Learning from these families, it becomes clear that building generational wealth requires moving beyond the comfort of familiar faces and family ties. It demands the humility to acknowledge gaps in family expertise and the wisdom to fill these gaps with the best available talent. The most successful family dynasties don't just hire employees. They build ecosystems of excellence that transcend individual family members' capabilities and ensure sustainable growth across generations. Lesson 8. They keep wealth in trusts, not accounts. The world's wealthiest families understand that traditional bank accounts are merely temporary vessels for wealth, while trusts represent fortified structures designed to protect and perpetuate family assets across generations. This fundamental distinction shapes how ultra-wealthy families approach wealth preservation, creating a complex web of legal entities that safeguard their fortunes from taxation, litigation, and potential family disputes. The Rockefeller family pioneered many of the trust structures still used today, establishing a network of trusts that has preserved their wealth for over 6 generations. Their approach demonstrates how trusts can be used not just as tax-efficient vehicles, but as instruments of family governance. These structures allow wealth to flow seamlessly between generations while maintaining strict controls on how assets are used and distributed. Modern trust arrangements employed by wealthy families often span multiple jurisdictions, taking advantage of different legal frameworks to maximize protection and flexibility. The Getty Family Trust, for instance, combines charitable foundations with family trusts, creating a sophisticated structure that both preserves wealth and maintains their philanthropic legacy. This multi-layered approach ensures that family wealth remains protected while serving broader societal purposes. Trusts also provide wealthy families with privacy advantages that regular accounts cannot match. When properly established, trusts can shield beneficial ownership information from public scrutiny while maintaining full legal compliance. The Johnson family, owners of Fidelity Investments, demonstrates this principle through their use of blind trusts and other sophisticated vehicles that maintain their privacy while managing vast investment portfolios. Beyond mere asset protection, trusts serve as powerful tools for instilling family values and ensuring responsible wealth management across generations. Many wealthy families incorporate specific conditions and incentives within their trust structures, encouraging education, entrepreneurship, and philanthropic activities among future generations. The Pritzker Family Trust System, for example, includes provisions that reward family members who contribute to business growth or charitable causes. Whose families recognize that trusts can act as sophisticated wealth multiplication vehicles. Through careful structuring, trusts can minimize tax exposure while maximizing investment opportunities. The Mars family utilizes a network of trusts that allows for tax-efficient business reinvestment while maintaining family control over their corporate empire. This approach has enabled them to grow their wealth substantially while keeping it within the family sphere. Professional trust management represents another crucial aspect of wealthy families' approach. Rather than relying solely on family members, they employ teams of specialized trustees, attorneys, and financial advisors to oversee their trust structures. This professional oversight ensures objective decision-making and helps prevent emotional factors from compromising long-term wealth preservation goals. For those building wealth today, the lesson is clear. Transitioning from simple accounts to more sophisticated trust structures should be a priority as assets grow. While the complex trust arrangements of billion-dollar dynasties might not be immediately relevant, starting with basic trust structures can provide important protections and set the foundation for more elaborate arrangements as wealth increases. The key is understanding that trusts are not just tax-saving devices, but comprehensive wealth management tools that can help ensure financial legacy survives and thrives across generations. Implementing trust structures requires careful consideration of family dynamics, tax implications, and long-term objectives. The most successful wealthy families regularly review and update their trust arrangements to adapt to changing circumstances while maintaining their core purpose of wealth preservation and family unity. This dynamic approach to trust management ensures that these structures remain effective tools for protecting and growing family wealth over multiple generations. Lesson 9. They build brands that last centuries. The world's wealthiest families understand that true longevity in wealth comes from creating brands that transcend generations. These aren't just companies or products, they're cultural institutions that become deeply woven into the fabric of society. The Hermes family didn't just create a luxury goods company, they established a symbol of timeless elegance that has maintained its prestige for over 180 years. These families recognize that enduring brands are built on foundations of unwavering quality and consistent values. Take the Dassault family, whose aviation empire began in 1929. Their commitment to excellence in aerospace engineering has made their name synonymous with innovation and reliability. The brand has survived wars, economic upheavals, and technological revolutions because it represents more than just aircraft. It embodies precision, safety, and technological advancement. The methodology behind century-spanning brands involves creating emotional connections that pass from one generation to the next. The Rothschild name in banking didn't achieve its status through marketing campaigns, but through centuries of demonstrated expertise and trust. When people hear Rothschild, they think of financial acumen and stability associations that have persisted for over 2 centuries. These families also understand the power of adaptation while maintaining core brand values. The Bacardi family has kept their spirits brand relevant for over 150 years by evolving their products and marketing while never compromising their commitment to quality and their Cuban heritage. They've mastered the art of staying current while preserving their historical significance. What's particularly noteworthy is how these families protect their brand equity through careful licensing and expansion. The Porsche Peak family has extended their brand beyond automobiles into design, consulting, and lifestyle products, but each venture must meet the exacting standards that made their cars legendary. They understand that brand dilution through poor quality extensions can destroy generations of carefully built reputation. The training of future brand stewards is another crucial element. Wealthy families invest considerable resources in preparing their heirs to understand not just the business operations, but the brand's soul, its history, values, and role in society. The Louis Dreyfus family ensures each generation understands that they're not just managing a commodities trading company, they're sustaining a legacy of global trade that dates back to 1851. These families also recognize the importance of brand storytelling. The Antinori family doesn't just sell wine, they share 26 generations of Tuscan winemaking heritage. Each bottle carries centuries of family tradition, making their products more than mere beverages. They're pieces of history that customers can experience. The strategic preservation of brand mystique plays a vital role too. Many of these families maintain an air of exclusivity and mystery around their brands, understanding that too much exposure can diminish prestige. The Hermes family's limited production of their iconic Birkin bags isn't just about manufacturing constraints. It's about maintaining an aura of rarity and desirability that keeps their brand coveted across generations. Smart, wealthy families view their brands as living entities that require constant nurturing and protection. They invest in innovation while honoring tradition, expand thoughtfully while maintaining quality, and adapt to changing times while preserving their core identity. Through careful stewardship, they create brands that don't just survive through centuries, they thrive and grow stronger with each passing generation. Lesson 10. They adapt fast, but plan slow. The world's wealthiest families have mastered a seemingly contradictory approach to business and wealth management. Lightning-quick adaptation coupled with methodical, patient planning. This dual-speed strategy has enabled dynasties like the Rothschilds and Rockefellers to weather everything from world wars to economic depressions while continuously growing their wealth. Consider how the Porsche Pie family demonstrated this principle during the automotive industry's shift toward electric vehicles. While many traditional automakers hesitated, Porsche swiftly developed the Taycan electric vehicle. However, this quick adaptation was built upon years of careful planning and research, with the family having invested in electric technology patents and expertise long before the market shift became apparent. The Koch family similarly exemplifies this principle through their energy empire. When renewable energy began disrupting traditional markets, Koch Industries rapidly diversified into solar and wind technologies. Yet these moves were preceded by decades of research and strategic positioning, allowing them to enter new markets from positions of strength rather than desperation. This balanced approach to timing extends beyond business decisions into wealth preservation strategies. The Walton family, for instance, regularly adjusts their portfolio allocations in response to market conditions, but their core wealth preservation framework remains rooted in long-term planning that spans generations. Their swift market moves are always anchored by enduring principles established through careful consideration. The ultra-wealthy understand that rapid adaptation requires a strong foundation. They maintain extensive networks of advisors, industry experts, and market analysts who provide real-time intelligence, enabling quick decisions when opportunities or threats arise. However, these same families spend years developing and refining their decision-making processes, ensuring that fast moves align with long-term objectives. Family offices of the wealthy often operate like sophisticated intelligence agencies, gathering and analyzing information continuously. This infrastructure allows them to move decisively when needed, while their established governance structures ensure that quick decisions don't compromise long-term stability. The Mars family, for example, maintains a complex system of industry monitoring that enables rapid market responses while adhering to a carefully crafted 100-year vision. Technology adoption among wealthy families follows this same pattern. They are often early adopters of transformative technologies, but their implementation is preceded by thorough analysis and planning. The Lauder family's early embrace of e-commerce came after years of studying digital transformation, allowing them to move quickly while avoiding common pitfalls of hasty digital adoption. Crisis management particularly highlights this dual-sped approach. During the 2008 financial crisis, many wealthy families quickly repositioned their assets, but these moves were executed according to pre-existing contingency plans developed during calmer times. Their rapid responses were effective precisely because they were built on carefully constructed framework. Education within wealthy families reflects this philosophy as well. Heirs are taught to recognize and seize opportunities quickly, but only within the context of carefully developed long-term wealth preservation strategies. They learn that successful adaptation requires both decisiveness and patience, action and reflection. The key lesson from these families is that effective wealth management requires both agility and patience. Quick adaptation ensures survival in rapidly changing markets, while careful planning provides the foundation for sustainable growth. This balance has enabled the world's wealthiest families to not just preserve but grow their wealth across generations, turning market disruptions into opportunities rather than threats. Lesson 11. They don't spend, assets do. The ultra-wealthy families of the world operate under a fundamental principle that separates them from the merely rich. They structure their lives so their assets generate the money they spend, rather than depleting their core wealth. This subtle but powerful shift in mindset transforms wealth from a finite resource into a self-perpetuating engine of prosperity. Consider the Porsche PA family, who don't simply spend their fortune on luxurious lifestyles. Instead, they maintain ownership of substantial voting rights in Volkswagen Group, which generates billions in annual dividends. These dividends fund their lifestyle while their underlying asset, a company, continues to appreciate. This approach ensures their wealth grows even as they maintain enviable living standards. The same principle applies to real estate holdings among wealthy dynasties. Rather than selling properties to fund expenses, they create rental income streams from their real estate portfolios. The Kadoorie family of Hong Kong exemplifies this through their ownership of luxury hotels and properties that generate substantial recurring revenue. Their personal expenses are covered by these income streams, while their core real estate assets appreciate over time. This philosophy extends beyond traditional assets. Wealthy families invest in intellectual property, patents, and brands that generate royalties and licensing fees. The Mars family, for instance, owns a vast portfolio of candy brands that produce steady cash flow through licensing agreements worldwide. These revenue streams fund operations and lifestyle needs without touching the valuable underlying brand assets. Smart, wealthy families also structure their business investments to create multiple income streams. They might own shares in companies that pay regular dividends, hold bonds that provide fixed income, and maintain real estate portfolios that generate rental income. This diversification of income sources provides stability and ensures that daily expenses are covered without eroding the asset base. The concept of letting assets do the spending extends to luxury items as well. Instead of buying expensive toys outright, wealthy families often place these items in corporate structures that can generate income when not in personal use. Private jets are chartered out, yachts are leased for events, and vacation properties are rented during off-seasons. This approach transforms potential liabilities into income-producing assets. Another sophisticated strategy employed by wealthy families involves using asset-backed lending rather than liquidating investments to fund large purchases. By borrowing against their substantial asset base at favorable rates, they maintain ownership of appreciating assets while accessing capital for new opportunities or expenses. This leverage allows their wealth to continue working for them even when they need significant funds. The education system within wealthy families emphasizes this principle from an early age. Heirs are taught to view money not as something to be spent, but as a tool for acquiring assets that generate income. Young family members often receive ownership stakes in income-producing ventures rather than direct cash allowances, teaching them to think in terms of cash flow rather than capital depletion. This mindset requires careful planning and professional management. Wealthy families employ teams of financial advisors, accountants, and lawyers to structure their holdings in ways that maximize income generation while minimizing tax implications and protecting core assets. These professionals ensure that the family's spending needs are met through carefully orchestrated income streams rather than capital liquidation. The most successful family dynasties take this principle further by reinvesting surplus income into acquiring more income-producing assets, creating a virtuous cycle of wealth accumulation. They understand that every dollar spent from asset income rather than capital preserves their wealth for future generations while maintaining their desired lifestyle. This approach transforms spending from a wealth-depleting activity into a sustainable practice that supports long-term family prosperity. Lesson 12. They understand legacy better than luxury. The world's wealthiest families grasp a fundamental truth that eludes many. Legacy transcends the superficial trappings of luxury. While private jets and mansions might capture headlines, these families focus on building institutions, values, and systems that outlast any material possession. The Rothschilds, for instance, aren't primarily remembered for their elaborate estates, but for establishing modern banking principles that transformed global finance. This deep understanding of legacy manifests in how these families approach their daily decisions and long-term planning. They recognize that true wealth isn't measured by the size of their homes or the brands they wear, but by the impact their family name carries through generations. The Rockefellers exemplify this principle perfectly. Their name today represents not just oil wealth, but philanthropic foundations, educational institutions, and cultural landmarks that continue to shape society. These families invest heavily in creating lasting change rather than temporary impressions. Consider the Tata family of India, who built not just industrial empires, but established institutions that revolutionized education, healthcare, and scientific research in their country. Their legacy extends far beyond their business success, touching millions of lives through social initiatives that continue to grow in impact with each passing decade. The concept of legacy among these families often involves establishing family foundations that tackle significant global challenges. The Gates family, though relatively new to multi-generational wealth, has already set a powerful example by focusing their resources on solving fundamental human problems rather than accumulating status symbols. Their approach demonstrates how modern wealth can be channeled into creating meaningful, lasting change. Legacy-focused families also understand the importance of cultural and intellectual capital. They invest in preserving and sharing knowledge, arts, and traditions that enrich society. The Medici family of Renaissance Italy, while no longer among the world's wealthiest, left an indelible mark on human civilization through their patronage of arts and sciences, a legacy that continues to influence culture centuries later. These families teach their children that luxury is fleeting, but legacy is eternal. They emphasize the responsibility that comes with wealth, rather than the privileges it affords. Young members are often required to prove themselves through meaningful contributions to family initiatives before accessing significant resources. This approach ensures that each generation understands wealth as a tool for creating lasting impact rather than a means for personal indulgence. The most successful wealthy families create legacy frameworks that adapt to changing times while maintaining core values. They establish governance structures that ensure family wealth serves a greater purpose, whether through business innovation, scientific advancement, or social progress. The Johnson family, through their stewardship of Fidelity Investments, has consistently focused on democratizing investment access while maintaining their reputation for integrity and innovation. These families also recognize that legacy building requires collaboration beyond family boundaries. They forge alliances with other forward-thinking institutions, support emerging leaders in various fields, and create platforms for sharing knowledge and resources. This networked approach to legacy building amplifies their impact and ensures their influence extends well beyond their immediate sphere of control. The distinction between legacy and luxury becomes particularly clear in how these families approach education and personal development. Instead of sending their children to expensive schools solely for status, they focus on institutions that will challenge them to think critically and develop a sense of purpose. They emphasize character development, leadership skills, and social responsibility over material acquisition and social climbing. This legacy-oriented mindset ultimately creates a different relationship with wealth itself. Money becomes a means to an end rather than an end in itself. The focus shifts from accumulation to allocation, from consumption to contribution, and from personal gratification to generational impact. This understanding of legacy over luxury represents perhaps the most crucial lesson from the world's wealthiest families, that true wealth lies not in what you own, but in what you create that outlasts you.